City of Dunnellon City Council meeting on April 12th. Can we please stand for the pledge of allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Somebody that would like to lead us in a prayer or a moment of silence.
Let us all bow our heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this great day that you've given us on this beautiful river in this beautiful town. We ask that you guide all of us to know what's in your best interest, to shine the light that you shine upon us, that others can see how bright the future is for the city of Dunnellon. We ask that the city council members all listen and hear with goodness in their hearts, and that the citizens that are here today also listen with the ears that they should hear with open opinions. We ask this in your holiest name, dear Lord. Amen. Amen.
Okay, I want to remind everybody of a couple of things. One, please turn off your cell phones or silence them so they won't be ringing like mine does. Also, for us that are sitting near a microphone, I've been instructed not to put our phones next to these microphones because they make noise. And please speak into a microphone if you're going to speak. Roll call.
Mayor Dunn,
Here.
Councilwoman Burbidge,
Present.
Councilperson Mendoza,
I'm here.
Councilman Inskeep,
Here.
Dan Smith, Finance Officer. Here. Matt Pudlow, Public Works.
Here.
Julie Danowski, Records Clerk.
Here.
Michelle Leonard, Assistant Clerk.
Here.
Chief McQuaid,
Here.
Lieutenant Yachts,
Here. Okay.
City Attorney Patrick Brackens.
Here.
The agenda for this meeting was posted on the city's website and City Hall Bulletin Board on Wednesday, April 5th, 2023, and amended on April 6th to add the February 13 minutes to the backup for agenda item number 1.
Okay. Does anybody on the council have any comments regarding this agenda?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I would like item number 9 moved to the forefront. I've had many people ask that be done. Some persons are here have physical problems sitting, and rather than have them sit here for an hour, you have them listen to other agenda items. I think we should go right to the meat. Today's agenda, which is item number 9, the discussion of the Dunnellon Police Department.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Discussion?
We have to have a second before we have discussion.
Second?
Okay. Now we want to do, all in favor of moving this or discussion?
Aye.
Discussion.
Okay, discussion.
I didn't know if we wanted to swear in the 5th council member first. Other than that.
Okay, I know Mandy and I went back and forth on this. I did with Mandy and Michelle because I was like you. I'll do the first item on here because that's why I buzz here. But again, we have a 5th member of the council that has to be sworn in. We have another swearing in to do, and the only other thing on the council is a National Prayer Day, and it takes 1 minute. Okay? I suggest we just leave it the way it is, because we need this 5th member to have a full council to discuss anything.
Agreed.
Okay. So we'll just leave it like it is.
You have a motion and a second, so you need to have a vote.
Okay.
If you don't want to move it, the vote would be no. If you do want to move it, it'd be yes.
Okay. All in favor of moving number 9 to the first? Say aye. All opposed, say no. No. Okay. Well, unfortunately, and I understand for those that are, this is going to be hard, please bear with us. Okay. Anybody else have any comments about the agenda? Okay, I have one comment, actually 2. With everybody here tonight, I know what you're going to be here to discuss. And since public comments are first, but public comment you really want to speak to is number 9. If there's anything else you'd like to speak to on non-agenda items, you are welcome to speak now. I will also tell you, a lot of what you have read in the newspaper, discussed with your friends, is wrong, okay? And that will come out in our discussion tonight. So again, if you have a non-agenda item you would like to discuss, you are free to do that now, and please limit that to 3 minutes. Thank you. Do we have anybody sign up?
I do, I'm not sure if it's on non-agenda items, but I can call the names and see. Tom Kirk,
Yes.
non-agenda item?
I was going to speak about the police department.
Okay. Valerie Hanchar,
PD.
Mary Edmondson,
Also the PD.
Art Fisher. Art, do you have
I
anything?
intend to speak on an agenda item. You want me to talk now or wait a moment?
No, wait. And I don't have anyone else signed up, and I don't have anyone, on Zoom. I'm just saying, I don't have anyone signed up on Zoom, but you
Okay.
can take them.
Does anybody out here want to speak on a non-agenda item like the police department? You are welcome to speak now.
Yes, there was a discussion at the Beautification Volunteer Committee.
Name and address, please.
Oh, excuse me, Nancy Benwyash, and I'm at 11876 Cedar. My driveway is right where the stage is going to be on Saturday, so, on Cedar. So anyway, there's a couple of items. I have a list of about 6 things, so I'll make it real short, it's my 3 minutes. First thing is, I'd like to see the road at Happy's Restaurant get fixed finally. I know somebody else said that too, so I'd like to second that. Also, if you go to the Cuban restaurant there on Pennsylvania, when you park in the back and you walk out, the thrift store is right there next door, and there's a pile of garbage there. I'd like to see that cleaned out, please. It looks terrible. And this is after the pick up of the garbage, so that was left. Also, when you leave coming Illinois from the post office and you get to Powell Road, when you look to the left down the hill, it's very hard to see if there's a car coming. There's 3 trees that are very close together and they need to be cut because somebody's going to get hit there. Okay, I'd just like for somebody to take a look at that if they would. And it came up, we're going to be meeting at the City Beach on one of our meetings, our next meeting. And I am one that is very upset about how many signs are at City Beach. So if we can try to reduce those signage, get everything what you need in 1 or 2 signs, but not as many that are there. If you go down there, it's very depressing to see all of that. It takes away from the beauty. And also, I'd like to find out about how I can extend my driveway, as I say, goes onto Cedar. And I have cars on both sides as I back out. And I measured it. One is like 114 inches away from my driveway, and the other side it's 94 inches. So it's terrible, it blocks, especially if there's trucks parked on both sides. So I'd like to try to get the cars moved apart from my driveway before there's an accident. And the other thing is, last thing, FGUA, not my favorite company. I was away for 3 months last summer. I had a bill $54, and $1,200. And I wasn't even there. Okay, it took me 3 months. Because I have an automatic pay for the last 20 years. And they hit it for $500. Did I get a check back? No. They worked it off those next couple of months. But and I did the math, when you add the sewer with the water that you've used, you add those 2 together, divide it by how many gallons you used, it comes out to $3.48 per gallon. I think it's better to use bottled water. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Anybody else in the audience that would like to speak on a non-agenda item? Okay. Next thing on the agenda is the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to accept the consent agenda as written? Which is items 1, 2, 3, and 4.
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Okay, let's hear that. All right. First item on the agenda is really number 5, which is a proclamation of the National Day of Prayer. There's a document that's been attached. Mandy, you want to read that?
Okay, proclamation PRO 2023-01, National Day of Prayer. Whereas prayer to the Almighty God is regarded by millions as the most important utterance of mankind for its benefit. And whereas our nation was founded by single-minded men and women seeking wisdom and guidance through prayer to God who has ears to hear. And whereas prayer has aided us all in times where support and guidance was needed. And whereas it is fitting that we should give thanks for the freedom and prosperity which our nation and state enjoys, and to pray for the continued guidance and comfort which God has graciously bestowed upon His nation since its inception. And whereas the National Day of Prayer is a time set aside for Americans to pray to their Heavenly Father and to reaffirm the spiritual principles upon which our nation was founded. And whereas the state of Florida and the United States of America can and will benefit from prayer by its faithful and prayerful residents. And whereas our theme this year is Love, Life, and Liberty, taken from Corinthians 3:17, which says, "Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty." And whereas across our land on May 4th, Americans will unite at specific times in prayer for our nation and state to acknowledge our dependence upon God, to give thanks for the many blessings our country has received from Him, to recognize our need for personal and corporate renewal of moral values, and to invoke God's blessings upon our leaders. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the City Council of the City of Dunnellon, Florida, does hereby recognize May 4th, 2023 as the National Day of Prayer, and urges all citizens in Marion County to pray with diligence and seek the face of Almighty God to direct our paths in the days and years ahead. Passed and proclaimed this 12th day of April 2023.
Okay.
Mayor, you want to come down and?
What am I supposed to do?
And is Miss Nanette here? I don't know that there's anybody further.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you about being a speaker.
Okay, I will take that under advisement.
Thank you very much. And these are just
Oh,
little
May
reminders
4th.
for our
Oh,
community.
yeah.
Yes.
We got some like that.
Yes, so
We
look
will.
forward to that.
All right.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hope to see you on the 4th at the library. Thank you.
Okay. Item number 6, appointment of a city council, seat 4. Do we have any public comments? We have 2 individuals who have filed to fill that seat. Does anybody want to comment on either of them at this time? Guess not. Okay. Do I have a motion on either one of these individuals? And if you would please read the proposed motion with your decision.
Okay. I'll make a motion for Rex Lehman to fill the vacant council seat.
Okay? Do I have a second?
I would like to offer the second.
Okay. Does anyone want to have any discussion on this? Good? Go ahead.
No, I would just reiterate what you said in the past meeting, that it's fantastic that both of these people have stepped up, that they're both currently serving on the Planning Commission. I believe that either would be great for the seat, so that's my discussion.
Okay. I was going to say the same thing. Rex and Sam, both of you are well qualified to serve in this position as you both sit on the planning and zoning. Please don't take this as an offense that only one of you can serve at this time. So I hope you stay active with the city as we go forward. Okay. Have a motion, a second discussion. We'll have a vote. All in favor of Rex to serve on our city council at seat 4, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you, Rex. Now, you need to step forward and be sworn in.
Okay, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Rex Lehman,
I, Rex Lehman,
a citizen of the state of Florida
a citizen of the state of Florida
and of the United States of America,
and of the United States of America,
and being employed by
and being employed by
or an officer of
or an officer of
the city of Dunnellon,
the city of Dunnellon,
and a recipient of public funds,
and a recipient of public funds,
as such employee or officer,
as such employee or officer,
do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Florida.
and of the state of Florida.
Okay, sir. Come take a seat. And Sam, I do appreciate you standing up and volunteering for this wonderful position. Okay, one more thing, and then we'll get to the most important thing that everybody's here for. We have 2 individuals who have, again, applied for the position of Public Works Manager. Can I get a motion to authorize the city clerk to process and hire one of the candidates?
I would make a motion that our city clerk put into action acceptance of one of these applicants for the position of Public Works.
Okay. You got a name?
Do I have a name? How about you give a name?
Okay, go ahead.
Are you withdrawing your motion? If you're the person making the motion, it would be to identify the person.
It would be either Chad Ward or Stephen Roberts.
Chad Ward.
Okay, all right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? This time. I think Chad has worked for the city for a few months now, done an excellent job. I think he will serve the city very, very well. He's just going to have to transition out of one job into another job and work that out, but I think he's a good choice. Okay.
Mayor,
Yeah.
public comment.
Oh, totally forgot. Do we have any public comments on this motion? None, okay. So can we now have a vote? All in favor of Chad, say aye. Aye. All opposed? It's unanimous. Okay. See, folks, I knew we could get through it fast, just bear with me.
Good job.
It took about 18 minutes. Okay. Before we get started, there's a couple things I want to express to everyone. First of all, everyone has 3 minutes to discuss whatever they'd like to discuss. There is a provision in our manual, code of conduct, that when a large group of supporters support or oppose a position that is brought before or is on this agenda, we can limit the number of people that speak. I have waived that tonight. I want to hear from everybody. I also want you to know that there will be another meeting on this topic starting at 4:30 next Wednesday afternoon. That meeting will be dedicated solely for the discussion of the police. So if we don't finish it tonight or we get started and decide to stop, there'll be a full discussion on the police department at next Wednesday night's meeting. One thing I failed to do, and I apologize greatly, Sheriff Billy Woods is in the audience. Chief and the sheriff agreed to both be here tonight. I thought it was important them to be here, and I want to recognize Billy for coming, and I appreciate him coming. Okay. So, public comments on a discussion concerning the Dunnellon Police Department. And the final thing I'll say before I turn y'all loose is a lot of what you have read in the newspapers, may have heard from your neighbors, is not accurate. Okay? And the first thing I can tell you is the council was not behind this decision. Okay? That's all I'm gonna say. Was anybody signed up to speak on this stuff?
Tom Kirk?
Yes, ma'am. I've got notes here, but,
Would you please come to the podium, say your full name, address, and then you got 3 minutes.
name's Tom Kirk. I've been living on the Rainbow River for over 30 years. I'm on one of the main ways right after you leave the beach to get to the head springs. And I just want to say that I'm so glad that we've got the police boat out there patrolling, because I actually see for myself the good that that patrolman does. He may not start until 10 or 11 o'clock in the afternoon, but he's there in the evening when everybody hears a clap of lightning and they come down that river 60, 70 miles an hour. And there's still tubers coming down, believe it or not. Of course, they're from up north, but I just want to tell you that the police department, I've had very good luck for all the years I've been here. And I hope we don't become like New York and the rest of the cities up north, Chicago, and kind of deplete the police department when we need it more than ever. That's all I gotta say.
Okay, I appreciate your
But I
time.
appreciate the boat. Let me tell you, I've lived there a long time. And there hasn't been too many people that, and they talk to them. They don't just put their hand up and turn the lights on and the siren and all that jazz. They come up to them and they're very polite to them. And I just want to say I recommend their psychology effort for talking to the people that are doing stupid things.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, next.
This is worse than high school.
I don't know what, I didn't even read it.
I know.
Oh, I've done that since high school. That's a few days.
Hey, good evening. Valerie Hanchar, 11575 Hot Springs Road, Dunnellon, Florida, 34431. Sad to be up here this evening talking about this issue, but there have been things said at this podium in the past by some city council members that are now up there that I think maybe have started this conversation about why do we really need the Dunnellon Police Department. Many of you have said those exact words here at this podium. So when I hear from the police that they're worried about their futures, I understand why they feel that way, why their confidence isn't fully sitting with the council, not you, sir, of course, that we have sitting here now. I've read the 3 reports that the observations from the city council to our chief. 2 of them were pretty good. If you don't know the questions or the answers, I always recommend you go to the source to find out. One of them was poorly written, was not of good character, and seemed to me more like a high school kid trying to get back at somebody. That was very disappointing from somebody that I considered a professional. I think what's going on in our city is criminal. Just this afternoon, we had 3 of our officers that were helping citizens that were in an accident. 3 of our Dunnellon Police Department, who we honor and respect for protecting us each and every day. Their salaries, and I'm sorry, I had to vote on your salaries, have never been even near what they should be. That and teachers. So I understand that there's frustration at the city police department. I feel like the citizens of Dunnellon, the real citizens of Dunnellon, want our police department. I don't know who some of y'all have talked to, but let me tell you, when I was on city council and I knocked on doors, I didn't write letters to give some kind of a thought out there, but I actually knocked on the doors and asked the citizens. They wanted their police department. They loved their police department being their neighbors because they knew that they could count on them and they felt safe with their Dunnellon Police Department there. I respect Sheriff Wood. I respect his officers, but no offense, you can't give us the love that we get from our own Dunnellon Police Department. Amen. And so I highly recommend that this council really have a good look and listen to everyone's opinions and not just a few. Thank you very much.
Amanda?
Come on up.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Art Fisher, 11897 North Ohio Street, Dunnellon, Florida. I wanted to talk to you before most of us fell asleep. I hope not to put you to sleep. All I ask you to do is to keep your thoughts open until next Wednesday, and hopefully there'll be some constructive direction coming after that. There's been a great deal of misinformation, disinformation, and false information, both on the internet, on public records in the city records, and utterances by members of the council from time to time. Not to steal your thunder, Ron. Ron has an excellent letter. I'm not interested in talking about the facts or allegations in them, but he does conclude, I believe, that we really need to take a serious look at this, be unemotional, be objective, and let someone else come in there and help us look at this thing clearly and honestly. Thank you all very much. I hope I didn't steal your thunder. I know I did.
Mary Edmondson?
Good evening, Mary Edmondson. So believe my address is the Dunnellon Police Department, and I hope you don't mind, I've written a few notes. I'm there more than home. Again, my name is Mary Edmondson, and I've been employed with the Dunnellon Police Department for 10 years. And in that time, I've been fortunate to work with some of the finest people I've ever met and watch many of them grow from young officers to well-trained, professional, and compassionate members of this agency. And I feel like everyone in town can be proud of them. Also, we're all fortunate to work for Chief McQuaid. And I'd like to take a moment to thank him for all he's done to date for this police department. Our officers have been taught by someone who has done it all, and we as an agency have been made better due to his leadership. He has supported us and defended us and done everything possible to give all our officers the tools they need to do their job well and safely. And he's also tried so hard to allow them to feel they will be able to support their families, work in a safe building, and stay here till retirement without having their benefits diminished. The chief and the officers are a testament to the department's high standards and exceptional performance, and it's an honor for me to serve as a support staff for those people. I'd like to express my wish that the men and women who are responsible for protecting our community and keeping us safe get the compensation they deserve for the risk they take. And that's why I understand their need to make a change if that's what they need to do. I'd also like to thank the chief for all he's done for this community. Under him, this agency has implemented a number of community outreach programs, the National Drug Take Back Day, Special Olympics Torch Run, our community meetings, and Cops for Kids. Just last Christmas, we were able to provide clothes, diapers, blankets, and other necessities for 70 kids, and it breaks my heart to wonder how that will happen without us. And with that in mind, as a person who works in the background, I felt the need to come forward just to offer my appreciation, respect, and admiration for Chief McQuaig and all the members of the Dunnellon Police Department. Thank you.
No one else on Zoom either? Okay. Would anybody else in the audience like to speak at this time? Wow. Okay.
I would like to speak.
Oh, okay.
Let me lower this for a short people. My name is Chantal DeBeja. My address is 5591 Southwest 181st Court, Dunnellon, Florida. I've had a lot of contact with our police department. When I was serving this community, risking my life, they watched out for me when there was death threats. They're making what I made in law enforcement 20 years ago. This is not right. Yet on the agenda, $45,000 for a new truck. Are your lives worth a new truck? Pay them what they're worth and keep them here.
Does anybody else have any comments? Okay. If you guys up here don't mind, I've got a few things I want to say. First of all, I've read all the articles, all 4 of them that have been published. They're full of errors and mistakes. No one interviewed me for any of these articles. And I was shocked to learn some things that are in these articles. And I can tell you, based on my comfort level, not because of my discussion, because I cannot discuss any of this with anybody on this council unless I'm sitting right here. This council did not originate this, okay? It didn't start here. This whole idea of getting rid of our police, as long as I'm mayor, will never happen, okay? I support the police fully. I live on the Rainbow River. The boats go up and down the river. They've actually come out to my island and helped me run people off my island. So I respect the police and always have. I'm not sure where this all originated, but the articles kind of spell out a story, and I'm not sure those stories are right. I will tell Austin Miller, who's sitting in the back, from what I've gathered in all these articles, your article is probably the closest one to being correct, okay? Some of the rest of them are way off, okay? But I will say, and I want the rest of the council to please make whatever comments they want, that this discussion of eliminating our police department did not originate here, okay? It originated somewhere else. We will have another meeting next Wednesday night, 4:30, and the whole meeting will be to discuss a lot of the background information. Does anybody else on the council have something they want to say?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I knew you would.
This is exceedingly difficult for me because I have extreme respect for our chief of police. His officers are producing five-star performances every day at every level. However, at our last workshop, us council members were presented with a shocking presentation from Chief McQuaid. I have the transcript here. I checked it against the audio, it is 100% correct. And they're within, where's my glasses? Are some problems. And not with the police force at all, not with our Marion County Sheriff's Department, but with Chief Mike McQuaid. Here's what he said, and again, this is public record. It's a council workshop transcript. It says, "Good evening, council. I've come here tonight to give you my exit plan and also the exit plan for the Dunnellon Police Department. All of the officers at the Dunnellon Police Department are resigning." Okay, and then he goes on to mention that Sheriff Woods has offered a plan that we knew nothing about, hadn't heard a word. Okay, and then he says, so it's going to take, if you all decide what you want to do is for him to take over. But there's not much choice left here because they, meaning his patrol officers, have all decided to go with the sheriff. That's what we got from Sheriff McQuaid. Okay, also he says that, quote, "And this way there's going to be no cost to the city council and he will have 8 people here all the time." Again, I'm going to repeat. "And that way there will be no cost to the city council, have 8 people here full time, same officers and so on, and also use the building, pay rent for it." And then further in Chief McQuaid's conversation, when I questioned, here's what I said, "I'm sure the public might want to know about this. How is this going to work with our appropriated budget? Are we going to have a conversation with Billy Woods about how this program is going to be paid for? Is there going to be extra expenses for the changing of the guard?" And even though Mr. Chief McQuaid had said no extra expense, he says, "Another unknown to us, I know it's already in motion with the county," meaning county commissioners, "for them to do an ordinance. And no discussion with us council people whatsoever." Amen. Totally out of the blue. And I'm not done. And again, this is not about our police staff. This is about what Chief McQuaid brought to us last Monday evening during our workshop. Okay, even though he had already said, Mike McQuaid said, no extra cost to the city, he says, again, there's already an ordinance in effect with the county with the county, they're going to do an ordinance. And most likely will probably go with an MSTU type budget, which will be an additional tax to the taxpayers. That means you all, most of you all sitting out there. Okay, if you don't know what MSTU is, that stands for Municipal Service Taxing Unit. You all get a tax for our Marion County services for fire and rescue. Those of you who are in town, you know what that figure is. Okay? Okay, so we get contradicting statements. And again, no conversation with council. Chief McQuaid just went out on a limb, and I have heard, even from our people who work for our city, that this was in retaliation for evaluations he got. his annual evaluations from council members, that he went ballistic. Top of his head blew off. And I will say, my evaluation is extremely different from the evaluations of the other council members. I am highly appreciative of the services of Chief Mike McQuaig and all of his staff. Okay, so it's no secret this is an emotional kickback from Chief McQuaig. And it is unfortunate that he has reacted this way to something as simple evaluations when he could have come to us, those council members who didn't give him all the 5 stars and worked something out. Okay, I also want to read from our city charter. Okay, our city charter says, there shall be a chief of police appointed by a majority of the city council. We have done that. Chief McQuaig 5 years ago. And here's the statement that says what his limits of power are. He, the chief of police, shall have control of the police force, and this is the important part, subject to the command of city council. What he did last week was insubordination. It was also subversive. And that's all I have to say at this moment.
Thank you. Does anybody down this end of the hall have something to say?
Yeah, I'll go next. I'll just speak to maybe a summary of some of the key points, some of which has been made. But in summary, the Dunnellon Police Department cannot be abolished without the action of the City Council and/or a vote of the residents of the city. So when we learned this at the workshop on the 3rd, I learned of the potential resignation of the chief 5 minutes before the meeting started on Monday the 3rd. The police department will legally stay in place until its status and future is addressed. There's a language in the charter that states that the chief of police position cannot be eliminated without a referendum, without a vote of the residents of the city. It would suggest then that the department cannot be abolished without a vote of the people. And in the feedback that I've gotten in the last week, I think that the residents have overwhelming support for maintaining the police department. And the city council, I know, is listening to the residents. So it will be the council and the residents who decide the future of the police in Dunnellon. It's my understanding that the Marion County Sheriff will be providing policing services through an agreement with the city until the council and residents decide our own fate. It's going to be up again to the city council and the residents to decide, not the county, not the sheriff, and not the chief of police. We already talked a little bit about the double speak with the financial piece of it, so I'll skip that. The sheriff came to us in a previous visit saying that he could not provide the same police coverage that's being offered without raising fees. So certainly something that we'll have to talk about a little bit more. There's been some talk about if we abolish the police, we could legitimately ask ourselves if we should dissolve and become part of the county. But I don't really even think that we're there. I think that we were presented with an exit plan without really having been part of that. So I would just, I'll stand by my evaluation, which I believe is public record, of the chief of police, which I submitted in the beginning of April. I felt that my evaluation was very fair. It had accompanying comments for everything. Very few things were marked less than satisfactory, and if so, there were comments to support that. I've met with Chief McQuaig myself several times to talk about differences, mostly differences related to the cost of the police department in Dunnellon and how we can make it sustainable, and some of my disagreements with the plans that have been made for the new building. So that really concludes my comment. I do look forward to the meeting on the 19th to talk a little bit more about strategies and next steps so that we can meet the residents' needs of police in Dunnellon. The other thing I'll say is, while I've read in the paper and heard from the chief that the entire staff has resigned. I have not seen any resignation letters from the officers. And I do have receipt of Chief McQuaid's resignation, which was given to us again today, just before this meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Tim?
Yes. I'd like to repeat what Wally said, and I told this to the entire police department and Sheriff Woods. My personal opinion is we need our local police department. I won't go into all the reasons. There's, I think financially we're better off. I think there's many hidden, a lot of hidden value that many of us don't know about that our local police department does for us. With to dissolve the police department, as Jan said, it is not under police chief's purview. It is under a council's purview. It is not under a police chief's purview to decide the transition to the sheriff or how that transition will happen. It is up to the council to work that out with the sheriff and with other knowledgeable people. My opinion with everything is this is about a flawed evaluation process that's been around for years. This is not the first year that this has happened. My disappointment with this is the police chief position is an executive leadership position. And this reaction is unacceptable for a position like that. We work out processes. We don't go behind the scenes to try to hurt the city because a process worked not in our favor. We fix the process. I spoke with numerous residents and businesses since this has all happened, and I won't say everyone because that wouldn't be 100% accurate, but almost everyone wants to keep our local police department. With the evaluation process, when I filled out my evaluation when I got it, I went through it. Basically, in a nutshell, it's a point system evaluation. There's, I believe there's 5 different topics. Underneath each topic, there are 6 different items. You go down and you rate 1 to 5, 1 being low, 5 being high. When I went down through this thing and I was done, I ended up with a bunch of 2s and 3s. And what I realized at that point is I really don't know what the chief does on a daily basis. So I set up a meeting with the police chief, went through what he does, what his department does on a day-to-day basis, week to week, month to month, etc. All the outreach programs, all the volunteer programs, etc. Mary was kind enough to produce documents to here's where we're at with grants, etc. So it's not just hearsay, it's seeing documents, it's seeing visual stuff that are records. That convinced me even further, we need to keep our local police department. When I was done with the meeting with the chief, my evaluation changed, I'm not going to say drastically, but Mandy's seen it, and these terms I think I used when I sent her the email. I sent her both evaluations, the one prior to the meeting and the one after the meeting, to show her, just to show how, with the process the way it is, people need to reach out and need to get the information so that we know what we are grading. The other issue with this evaluation is most of the world NA means not applicable. In the instructions on the top of this evaluation, it says if you do not have enough information to answer the item, then put NA for no answer. With a point system, NA is a 0. So that's the major flaw to me with this process is somebody puts down an NA, that lowers the employee's evaluation at the end. But I'm going to wrap this up with, when we're young and we go through our careers and we make emotional decisions, we hopefully have somebody that's been around a while, grab us by the scruff of our neck, back us up and explain our error to us. When we get to executive positions, we're beyond that. Executive positions are expected to understand this and not fail wide open. Unfortunately, that's what happened, and it's not acceptable. We expect our executive positions to, no matter how hot the fire goes, they must maintain. And this did not happen. And to leave in a way to hurt Dunnellon, it's just not acceptable with me. And I'm sorry, this is a hard subject, especially after all the blood, sweat, and tears that Mr. Mike McQuaid has done to build this fine police department. I wished he'd have went another route. Unfortunately, this is where we are at, and this is what we have to deal with. That's all I have to say.
Rich, you have anything to say? You're new to this, but real fast. I just let you know, I moved up from Miami, or from a village in Dade County called Palmetto Bay. And the county let all the small municipalities incorporate, they call them villages. We get back 16 cents on every dollar that we spend in property taxes. Well, what happens down there is we then had to pay for our police service. They put in 1,600 apartment buildings, 1,600 units. The population goes up. When you go back to the county and say, we need more police officers, they're taking 84 cents out of every dollar for their pocket. Then they'll look at you and say, but now you have to pay for it. And that's what we're in danger of getting into here, is that nothing against Marion County, but they will give us so many police officers. And if we need more assigned, it's going to start coming out of our budget and more assessments. And that's pretty much what's going on down there. So in the long run, we do lose. My wife and I love the fact that we do see a police car every day. So with that, that is what this leads to. Plus the loss of control, because if we lose the police, somebody's going to say, well, why do we need a city council? Then this just becomes a satellite office for Marion County government. Here we have a choice. You have 5 people that you can come and talk to about your concerns, and we can decide. So for saving a few dollars, it's about giving up your freedom. Thank you. I'm going to speak last. Right now, I'd like the sheriff to come up and make a few comments, if he would. A lot of what I'm going to say would be repetitive of what all these other folks have said. So I'm going to kind of hold that till probably next Wednesday. I may make a few comments, but Sheriff, please come up and speak to this subject.
Billy Woods, Sheriff of Marion County. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Council members, I appreciate y'all having me here and allowing me to speak on this subject. I'm here for a couple of reasons. I want to be able to clear up some rumors, as one of y'all have already addressed, the mayor, I believe you did, of the misinformation that is out there. Let me start with this. It truly warms my heart that, one, I have a small community in my county that cares so much about their law enforcement, especially your own police department. Now, as most of y'all know, I grew up in a municipality police department, and I have the full understanding of the importance of having your own police department. I'll start with this. I'm going to address the first rumor, which is kind of the second one. They're both the same. This was no attempt by myself or any one of you, because we have not talked outside of Inns Keep, right?
Yes, sir.
Make sure I get that right, Councilman Inns Keep. When we had that first meeting.
Right.
So the idea that this has been some coup to take over and push Mike McQuaig out is inaccurate and wrong. Then on the other side of that coin is myself and Chief McQuaig coming together as a coup to undermine each of you. Far from the truth. The truth is, for 33 years of my career, now he's been in it a whole lot longer than I have, you can tell by that beautiful silver hair that he has. But however, we are friends. And my friend, Mike McQuaig, not Chief McQuaig, came to his friend, Billy Woods. He's at the end of his career. A lot of pressure when it comes to being a CEO of law enforcement, whether it be from council members, from the mayor, from the citizens, or whatever other asshole that's out there. Okay? He deserves more than you know to enjoy life. And when he came to me, we had many discussions about what his personal future was. But that same caring heart for all these years that he served Marion County, those years that he's been serving you, he cares about his people. And he wanted to ensure that whatever decision came from this council is that I would be there for all of you, whatever the decision would be. That resulted in me meeting with his officers to answer questions for them, in which Councilman Inskeep and Mandy were invited to. And in the whole thing, I answered each and every of their questions of what they had with the possibility of one direction going, because that's the only direction that I'm able to answer for them. But as both of them heard, it was made perfectly clear to each of them that that decision is up to you. Not myself, nor the chief. They understood. So, that takes care of the two rumors out there. Now, I think it's a little unfair to say my folks can't give you the same service. I'd argue with you there. But however, whatever the picture is, I look forward to next Wednesday to discuss it. Because there is a lot of things that we do have to discuss. One thing I will address, I know you came from Miami, and God bless your soul for leaving. But Miami is a totally different, unique individual. It is the only county in this state that is actually a municipality.
Yes.
It was chartered such in 1968. Now, they are getting ready to change. The next election, for the first time, they will be able to elect their 5 constitutional officers that's required by the Constitution now, and that includes their sheriff. So the taxation of Miami-Dade is totally different than the other 66 counties. To clarify, the MSTU, as Councilman Cubbage, thank you, ma'am. Councilman Cubbage has mentioned, it is theirs, the law enforcement MSTU. But as each of you know, you have control of that other village that you can adjust as well. So there's a lot of things that you and I can discuss next Wednesday. What's your picture, what's your vision, and what's to look at. But I don't want the Dunnellon residents to think and then get the impression that myself or you, because I've heard it, trust me, I've gotten the emails, I've gotten the messages, I've gotten texts on both sides of this coin. But these citizens have the right to hear from each of us what the truth is. And that we, me and you, are here together to take care of them. And that vote ain't going anywhere, just so you know. So, y'all like to ask me any questions, feel free to do so.
How about comments? And I'll make it brief and it'll be
Yes, ma'am.
pleasurable. Again, Dunnellon is exceedingly grateful for the services you provide for our community and all of those other 15,000 people with Dunnellon addresses that you take care of. I would also like to say that you're the best sheriff we've had since Tom Moreland. Okay? I've been here for 37 years. I follow what's going on in Marion County. I have buzzed into county commission meetings, these meetings here and so on. And everything has been okie dokie, okay? And even what has happened here tonight, the worst thing I would see happen is Chief McQuaig exit under other than satisfactory terms. Okay, now what he did, what he presented last week was totally unsatisfactory as far as his comment, and we do not differ from that. But everybody gets excited, emotional, and sometimes acts inappropriately. And we'll go from there.
Yes.
You want to comment?
It was great disappointment for me that when I requested a public record of a meeting that some of you had attended to discuss this, I learned that it wasn't recorded, and that's just, I guess, a concern that I want to voice, that I think that when important meetings happen, and all of the stakeholders and all of the decision makers deserve to be able to hear that. So I just point that out.
I can appreciate that, but not every meeting is recorded, nor will every meeting be recorded, okay? For many, many reasons. But what is important to me is the police department employees. Just like Chief McQuaig, they come first. And what they want to ask me in confidentiality, they have a right to do. And I will give that to them, no matter what.
Okay. Anyone else? Sheriff, we appreciate you coming, and I understand you are coming next week too.
I will be here.
I appreciate that, because again, this is a problem or an issue that needs to be solved jointly with you, with us, and with our police. Where do we go from here, and how do we move forward? But I appreciate your comments, and I appreciate you trying to do what I'm trying to do, is let's get the facts right before we all want to stab each other. Okay?
Mr. Mayor, can I throw a compliment in that direction?
Absolutely.
We sure enough appreciate what you had to say on national television the other night. That's awesome.
I was trying to reach the sheriff all week, and about 2 o'clock today, he called me, and I said, man, you've been on TV so much, I figured you'd never call me. But I do appreciate, and I do know you have been very busy with this triple homicide and everything, because you've been all over the news every night, everywhere. So we appreciate what you do for Marion County.
Thank you. You're more than welcome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, I've got one other thing I want to talk about, and because everyone else up here really spoke to this, I'm not going to repeat anything these fine members of council have said. Right now, this second, my mind's going blank, but I can't think of anything that was said that I do not agree with by this council. Okay, that's the first thing I'll say. As harsh as some of these statements have been, I agree with them. And the fact that we can't speak when we're not sitting here makes this a very hard job. Okay. Having said that, I have invited all the members of our police department to be here if they wanted to be here. And I noticed some of them are here, and I appreciate everything you do. Now, the next thing I'm going to discuss, and we'll go way into this next week, is when I started hearing the differential in pay of our police officers, first of all, I wouldn't do your job. They ain't enough money in the world. Okay, that's first thing. But when I hear that we're underpaying our policemen in this town, we're going to fix that. I will promise you.
Hey.
Mandy and I, behind the scenes, have been working on getting a consulting firm to look at the pay scale of all of our police officers and all of our staff to determine are they correctly paid. If they're underpaid, we will get that adjustment made. If they're overpaid, we'll get that adjustment made. I don't think there's a whole lot of overpay no problem. And that is coming. In fact, Mandy, you told me, I think you may have actually received back one of the RFPs or something that this is going to happen in the next month or two. If you will bear with us on the police force, we will get these compensations adjusted. I can assure you that. Because when I hear that Marion County, Ocala, Bellevue, Leesburg paying their policemen a whole lot more than ours, we gotta fix that. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. Since I've been on the council a lot in 4 months, and been mayor for 1 month, I hadn't had time to get to that, but we will get to that, okay? And even though I complain a bitch about my property taxes, we will get to that, okay? The next thing I do want the policemen to understand, we all, and I hope you've recognized that with the discussions that have gone on here, we respect everyone in blue in this town. I don't think there's a citizen here that doesn't respect what you guys do. And hopefully that rings through. Again, if y'all would like to come back to the meeting next Wednesday night and are not on patrol, I hope you come back, because we will get all of this discussed in very detail, so everyone, I hope, understands the direction of this council. And I think 2 or 3 times tonight it's been said, it is not the intention of this council to ever get rid of our police force without a vote of the people of this town. This is not our decision. If the people in this town want police, we're going to have police. We have to abandon everything else. If we get a vote and the people want to do away with it, we'll think about it. Okay? That is not on the agenda. Whatever happens going forward, this police department is going to go forward. And I hope our staff stays. But if they don't, I totally understand. Okay? Somebody mentioned tonight that Chief McQuaid had tendered his resignation. We got that right before the meeting. And we'll discuss that again on next Wednesday. That's really all I have to say tonight. But again, next Wednesday night, 4:30, we will have another meeting. And all that's going to be on the agenda is our police force and how do we correct and resolve these issues. Okay, so I appreciate everyone coming. And I know most of y'all will probably leave now, which is totally fine. If you want to sit through the rest of this, you're welcome. We have about 4 items on the agenda to discuss. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you, Trustee. Hey, Cal. Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'll wait.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Mayor, if you wanted to take a 2-minute or 5-minute recess. Yeah, we're going to take a break for about 5 minutes, so everybody can run the restroom, use the break. And as your council, your microphones are all on.
Okay, can we now get back to business at hand and try to wrap this up? I'm still looking at the clock and we're making great. Okay. Moving on to item number 10. Is first reading ordinance 4A202301, Blue Run Park rules and regulations. Do we have any public comments? Yes, Mr. Eno.
I'm Bert Eno. I live at 9220 Southwest 193rd Circle in Rainbow Springs. As some of you know, I've been the president of RRC for a long, long time. I'm no longer active in that role, but I'm still concerned with all of the things that we have been concerned with all along. And this change in ordinance is in order, it's process. We never wanted to see swimming at that ramp because we feel it's been a dangerous situation. So the amendment that you're making, I speak in very, very much in favor of it.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to speak to this ordinance? Okay. propose a motion. Somebody propose a motion to accept or read only ordinance ORD 2023-01.
I move ordinance ORD 2023-01 to be read by title only.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second it.
Okay. Any discussion? All good? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Now, you want to read?
Ordinance number ORD 2023-01, an ordinance of the City of Dunnellon, Florida, amending Chapter 46, Article 3, Blue Run Park of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Dunnellon by creating rules prohibiting swimming within the park's interior pond and from the river access ramp, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date.
Very good. Okay. So I have a motion to approve ordinance ORD 2023-01 to be approved.
I move ordinance ORD 2023-01 be approved.
Okay, can I have a second? A second. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous. And Mr. Eno, I totally agree with you. This never should have changed. So we're back to where we should be. Thank you. Okay, item number 11. Purchase of a truck for Public Works Department. Do we have any public comments? Anybody on Zoom?
No,
Okay. Okay. Having no public comments. So I have a motion to move to authorize the purchase of this pickup truck for Public Works not to exceed $45,000. Okay, have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
I just want to ask, I know that the other person brought up tonight about we're buying the truck rather than giving the police. Is there maybe Jan can ask me, this is my first meeting, is there a provision where we could pay it as a monthly payment rather than incurring the large expense?
We do not pursue financing this.
Oh, okay.
We do have the cash on reserve.
Oh, okay.
So, just my personal opinion, if we don't have to pay interest,
Okay.
we shouldn't.
Okay.
Because it's possible, without checking into it, it's possible we could be paying more interest than what we're earning on our money.
Okay.
But that's always a consideration that council can direct us to do. But this was in the budget to use, 1 cent sales tax. Right now, Marion County charges 7 cents on every dollar.
Right.
That's due to an additional penny that Marion County adopted back in 2017.
Right.
It's going to end this year. And the reserve is for roads and streets and police only.
Okay.
Can't use it for anything else. So unless council wants us to pursue financing, we do have the money in the budget available.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? Okay. We've had a motion and a second, right? Can't remember. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, Matt, go get your truck.
I got told 9 o'clock tomorrow to say it.
Okay, good. I knew you got a short fuse to get that truck. Okay, good. We got that thing here. One thing, it's not on the agenda. I talked with Matt. We're in a desperate need to put on one of these trucks, and that's totally up to him, a winch. I had the wonderful opportunity to sit out at Luco DRA for about an hour and a half last Thursday and watch him mow with a big tractor. And I was sitting there because I have a winch on my truck, and he kept saying, if I get stuck, I need some way to get out. And I don't mind doing that, but clearly for $1,500, $2,000, we can put a winch on a truck. This is what they need to get things done. We need to spend it, so it's not on the agenda. We'll put it in the next workshop, but that's something we gotta get done. Okay? All right. All right, department head reports. Anybody have a department head report?
I just have a couple things.
Sure.
You probably all saw the email that I sent out that had the draft agreement for the Blue Run Park restroom project. And that is still in draft with the county, and they're still working on it. So once we get their final version, then I'll get it over to Andrew and for his legal review, and of course to you, where you can, so you can make your comments if you want anything added, changed, whatnot. And Mayor did speak of us reaching out to a consultant to get a quote for a salary survey. It's the same company that we used before, and they quoted me, I got that late this afternoon, $5,150, which is $150 over the threshold for us not to have to go out and get quotes. So I think I can negotiate that down to $5,000 so that we don't have to go out and go to multiple consultants to get quotes. And because anything between 5 and 35, I have to have at least 2. So I'll work on that and let you know how that goes.
Okay.
Jan, do you have anything?
Your audit's almost complete for last year. That right now, it's scheduled to be presented to you all on May 10th.
Okay.
And I will have a copy at least a few days in advance for y'all to look at before it's presented. That's all I have.
Okay.
Matt?
Yes, I got a couple things. First of all, I'd like to thank the staff at City Hall and council for getting me a public works manager. I do look forward to working side to side. We have a lot to cover. For one person to handle it, it's a lot of work. I would like to, again, thank the staff and the council for the support that you have given me in the last, month and a half. Everything I need, every question, and beyond questions, everybody in this room has an answer when I ask. I mean, it's just outstanding. And I would like to say thank you again. And I look forward to working with everybody, continuing, even with the new public works manager.
Good. Well, we appreciate your efforts. I know that.
Yes.
We thank you so much, and that comes from my heart. Also, how is Dan doing?
He was still in the hospital, and that's all I got. I haven't got any more updates since yesterday at 7 in the morning that he was in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, is there any other liaisons here? I know the chief's gone.
No, sir.
Okay.
And on that note, though, I want to say thank you to Matt because he's been a lifesaver. I've had a whole lot more on my plate than I've had ever. And I couldn't handle it. And Michelle, too, has gone over there and gone way above and beyond, helping them get computer issues figured out and process stuff figured out. So between the two of them and Sharon, she's still here.
Yeah, I wanted to say something, that's why the hand is up.
Yeah, Sharon, thank you so much for hanging in there. And, but yeah, between the three of them, they've kept it together.
No, I do think, I mean, we've just gone through a period of not having a works manager, Georgina leaving, of course, the mayor leaving. We've been very shorthanded, and I think this whole department, everybody in this city has stepped up and done a remarkable job to keep things moving, solve problems, work together, and even though you have a manager now, I plan to keep calling you. I guess you'll just get used to it. I'll call Chad too, but anyway.
Mayor, do you mind if Sharon says something?
No, please.
I just wanted to say, again, from me, thank you everybody for supporting Matt and myself and the rest. I'm support staff. I'm not staff. But what you all have done to step forward to help him learn, and me as well, on how all of it runs, it's been amazing. And if I could hug and thank each and every one of you for all that you've done for our department as we're muddling through it, I could and I would. So thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Tim wants a hug.
Tim ideas.
Okay, let's keep moving this thing. Sure is. All right, council liaison reports and comments. Any council liaison reports?
Tomorrow,
Go ahead.
tomorrow there's a TPO meeting in Ocala for the second update for the West Penn multimodal road project. Mandy and I, you still attending, Mandy?
Yes, sir. I'm going to go to that tomorrow. I won't be in the office tomorrow, but I am going to make that trip
Okay.
over for that meeting specifically. And I did communicate that with Chad in the event that he was appointed to that position, if he would be able to attend, and he said he would. So
Awesome.
he's going to be there also.
Okay, so we'll bring back in the next meeting what comes out of there.
Good.
I'd like to, I want to address, I understand Julianne's comment about meetings without record. I well understand it. And what I would like to do is just read into the record. A resident reached out and questioned a staff person and a council person's attendance when we were asked to come to a meeting on the 24th, I believe. I'm sorry, 27th. Yeah, I got it right in front of me. What I want to do is just read my response real quick, and I might answer some concerns and questions. Hi, Ron, Mandy. I was the council member that attended the meeting on 3/27, 6 p.m. at the police department. I was asked to attend by the chief with no knowledge of what the meeting was about. After receiving the invitation, I contacted the city clerk, as Mandy was also invited, and inquired if she had any knowledge about the meeting subject matter. The chief had communicated with Mandy he was going to announce his resignation, and she believed this was the subject of the meeting. At the appropriate time during the meeting, I expressed the following to all in attendance. My comments here at this meeting are mine and mine only, as I do not speak for the other council members. I know of no initiative or interest to dissolve the Dunnellon Police Department. Based on my own thoughts, experiences, and those I've spoken with in the community prior to this issue, it would be a mistake to dissolve our local police department. To date, I still believe this. I offered fiscal, security, enforcement differences, and other benefits as reasoning for my opinion that it would be a mistake to dissolve our local PD. Mandy is a staff member who attended by invitation from the chief. I will let Mandy speak for herself. However, at no time during the meeting did Mandy express anything other than support for our PD. I hope this addresses any confusion, concerns addressed in your letter, Tim. And I asked Mandy to distribute it, but everything got so wild and so busy. And then she's also worried that with some of this stuff is my opinion type stuff, so to send it out. But my intent was to inform the council in some way, shape, or form as to how this happened and what, and the gist of what took place. So that's, I just want to let everybody know what's going on, so some of them think any of us are working behind the scenes trying to do anything.
I appreciate that, Tim. I know trying to work within the guidelines of the sunshine. I was on vacation. I was called to go to that meeting, and all I know was I asked Mandy to get you to go in my place because I was gone. I knew you were working. I wasn't sure what Jan was doing, but yeah, it makes it a little difficult for us to communicate. But what you just read out is what I expected you to say, and you said it, and no problem, man.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have a comment about what you
I have a comment that doesn't involve that
Okay,
issue.
okay.
I met with Judy Terwillinger 2 days ago and gave her information on how Dunnellon can be a Florida Trail City. If you go to the website Florida Trail Cities, it would enhance City of Dunnellon's exposure in the way of all these thousands and thousands of people who love the great outdoors who come to our area from other areas, and also people from within Florida. They literally, on their website, give you the opportunity to write a description of your city's amenities as far as outdoor activities, as well as photos, and businesses can attach their information also. And there's no fee for it, it's just you have to fill out the application, which is fairly easy. So Judy isn't here today, but I think she was going to mention that.
Yeah, I saw her sitting there, and I think she left when we piled out there.
I understand that.
Okay.
Can I comment to that, Wally?
Sure.
I'm glad you brought that up, Jan, because I missed it in my notes. I attended was last night, the Chamber of Commerce meeting, and they seen that, but they were confused as to what they were supposed to do. So I was supposed to ask you this evening.
The application.
Right. And they truly did not know whether they were supposed to fill it out, or I guess send it to businesses or what. So if you could touch base, so I don't muddle it up as a middleman.
Okay, and thank you for that. I told Judy if there was any questions, get with me, but.
The Boomtown Days has them pretty wrapped up right now, so
I understand that.
right, that's where the disconnect's from.
Thank you for cluing me in.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Okay. Julian?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on the public comment from the beginning, Nancy Benowich, and I don't know if it's in your wheelhouse or not, Matt, but I can get with Chad on her concerns about the trash near the thrift shop and on the parking near her property, but I'm wondering if you could or would look at the trees that she's talking about on Illinois and Powell and see if it's a city.
Yes, ma'am, I put it down in my
Oh,
desk,
super.
have it looked at.
And then if there's any input that you have on the signs at City Beach, if it needs
We all work,
simplifying.
right now, Dan, he was working on that prior to him being hospitalized. So I'm gonna check tomorrow with the sign company, check with Mandy, well, Mandy won't be here. But in the next couple of days, we're working on that project. So,
Great, thanks. I'll get with Chad on the other two things, and I don't think we can do anything about the cost of water. So thanks for all that you're doing and not missing a beat with Public Works and the times that you've stepped up.
thank you.
All right, Rex, you did all this. Do you have any comments?
No, I found that it's better to keep your mouth shut when you walk into a new place and find out what everybody else has to say.
Yeah, you learn that pretty quick.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I have just a couple things. One was just mentioned, I want to remind everybody that Boomtown Days is this weekend. For everybody, that's a pretty big deal here in this town. I have the honor of officiating the Dunnellon Rainbow Pageant. It starts at 9 o'clock. I need to be there at 8, and that'll be an exciting thing that goes on. But there's a whole lot more to Boomtown Days than that. The other thing I want to remind everybody, as a former CPA and tax man, your tax return is due Monday. Okay, our attorney.
I'll try to keep it brief. I do want, if we have a new council member tonight, I wanted to say welcome. And it's not my intent to put fear of God into you about the Sunshine Law or public records, but I like it. So one of the things to keep in mind for the Sunshine Law, it does carry criminal penalties, it carries civil penalties. Criminal penalties come if you do something intentionally. So if you had a backroom meeting with another council member. But the most important thing to know is, when does the Sunshine Law apply? It happens when 2 or more members of the same board. So you used to be on planning commission, now you're on council. If you want to go talk to a planning commission member, have at it, anytime. 2 or more members of the same board, anytime there's a meeting where they discuss some matter which may foreseeably come before your board, that has to be done at a publicly noticed meeting where public comment and all that. So a meeting can occur when you're together, it can occur in a movie theater, it can occur in a parking lot, it can occur when we take a 5-minute recess and the gavel hits, and then you look at somebody and say, hey, on agenda item 6, are you going to, that's a meeting outside the sunshine. But it can also occur via email, text message, and through a conduit. So for example, if one of the other council members came to me and said, hey, I want to know how this council member thinks about this, or I think this, please share this with so-and-so. That's a violation of the law. I'll lose my license, but I don't go to jail for it, but the 2 council members would if I shared it with them knowingly, and that was the intent. So just be aware of that. It runs against, the Sunshine Law is very effective, and it's meant to keep the integrity of our system and the public business and communication occurs in the public. But it also runs contrary to basic notions of politeness, and especially in small towns when everybody knows everybody. Just be aware of it. The rule of thumb is when in doubt, don't. When in doubt, leave. You can always apologize later. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be rude. I just didn't want to go to jail. So that's it. But I gave you my card. Call me. We can talk about it more. I have a packet I can give you. On the other matter, for coming up for next Wednesday, I want to compliment you all. Keeping the pressure down was wonderful tonight. But in your thoughts and in your comments going forward, there's three different things. There's the possibility of an MSTU, there's the issue with the chief, and then there's the issue with the actual department and the members of that department who also have bargaining rights. So just make sure when you're talking about one that you're clear and not talking about the other. And that's all I would advise you. And I know Andrew, I think, will be back from Scotland. If he's not, I'm going there. But thank you. It's always a pleasure to be with you. So thanks for having me.
Okay. Thank you, Patrick. Does anybody else have anything else to discuss tonight? All good? Is everybody going to be able to make next Wednesday's meeting? I know, Julianne, we put it at 4:30. You still going to be good with that? Okay. Because that will be a very important meeting. Again, I was very pleased, honestly, that we didn't have more comments from the public, because I got a lot of them in the last 10 days. But anyway, I'm glad that kind of settled down, and I'm hopeful that this will all get cleared up. There's been a lot of misinformation out there on a lot of this, and hopefully we can work through this and express to the public our feelings as a council. Again, a number of people asked me all week, what were we going to do? And I know I made it very clear. I don't know what the other council are going to do, but I can tell you what I think. And that's the way I think we have to address this. The other thing, I'm back on his sunshine thing. So I've learned very quickly, when you get an email, it's got a bunch of people on it, like Mandy sends out, do not respond all.
No reply all. Take it all.
Yeah, just respond to Mandy or don't respond. That is absolutely, it happened to me, I know once when I first got on council, I somehow hit reply all instead of just Mandy, and that's just to warn you. Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All right. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Meeting's over. 7:15. All right.